Morning, folks. We're in session. We had a whole bunch of technical things that came up in the last 15, 20 minutes that I had to address, and I apologize. That's why we did not bring you in until just now. I think part of what we do will probably expedite matters a little bit, maybe. I apologize for my imprudent decision to hold you here so late on Wednesday, so that a lot of you had a difficult time getting home. It's a bad call on my part. I'm not real good at weather predicting, so I hope I'm a little better judge than I am about doing weather. And I'm glad only one of you end up stuck in the hotel. So, we're ready to proceed now, and I have overruled the state's objection with reference to information concerning the interview of, or just the processing of Grant Hayes after his arrest. The defendant, through counsel, has requested an opportunity for you to see some portion of probably a 6-hour or so period in which Mr. Hayes was in an interview room after his arrest, in which he, as I understand it, had been advised of his Miranda rights and made statements and just, I think, made noise or something, or there's a lot of silence too. And I've asked them to look to that 6 hours and find what they contend is probative and informative, so that it might be helpful for you to understand this evidence without having you sit here for 6 hours and listening to silence, and pretty much with the way we did the movies, in a summary kind of thing. But and there is a transcript, as I understand it, and to the extent that there are statements made that the defendant contends are probative and that you should consider, then those statements have been transcribed, and I believe that copies will be, is that correct? Copies will be made available to the jury?
We have made copies of the pertinent pages available for the jury to read along.
All right. So would you tell me what exhibit that is, please?
It is Exhibit 30, Your Honor. I'm sorry, the DVD is Exhibit 30.
Okay.
The transcript is Exhibit 30A.
Okay.
And the pertinent portions are pages 13 through 30, which we intend to pass to the jury so that they can follow what's being said.
Okay. Let those exhibits be received. Sheriff, can you pass out copies? As I understand it, you can pass those out. Some of the information on the transcript has been blacked out because these are statements, as I understand it, that were made by officers who went in the room. You will be able to hear that on video, I believe, but it's not part of the transcript. The only thing part of the transcript, I believe, is any question or statement to Grant Hayes or statement from Grant Hayes. Have I misstated anything?
I don't think so. If I may also say, on Friday we were having or Wednesday. We were having technical difficulties trying to figure out how to play the CD on the courtroom system. We have now figured out how to play it on our own system.
Okay.
The jurors may be able to just follow along without the necessity of the witness reading anything.
Okay. Any objection to that? Are these transcripts provided by the state?
Yes, Your Honor.
To the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you question the authenticity of the transcripts?
We do not. I would just like to have a copy of the one that has been, where certain parts have been blacked out, so that I can understand that. But we have these transcribed and provided them, so.
Okay. Are you stipulating that Grant Hayes was arrested and that he was put in an interrogation room, and these are these are proceedings that occurred that were videotaped of him in that interrogation room without the necessity of calling a witness to so say.
Your Honor, these were included in the pretrial stipulations as to the authenticity.
So you have no problem with that?
That's correct.
Okay. No, I'll let you proceed without a witness then.
Your Honor, if I may, this may sound technical, but we converted what was provided by the state that's in a Windows computer format to a format that plays on the Mac. But I've seen both videos, and they're the exact same. There's no error in the conversion.
That's fine.
Your Honor, we would object to them being allowed to play this without calling a witness, however. The stipulation is for the authenticity of the document. I still think they need a witness.
Well, you want to call Officer Faulk around, just ask him
We'll call it.
3 or 4 questions, and then, okay. Officer, come back to stand, please. You've been previously sworn. I tell you, let him be re-sworn since he's being called on the defendant's case, okay.
He sounds with testimony of this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Thank you. Officer Faulk, you are again under oath, and state your name for the record, please.
Jerry Faulk.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Detective Faulk.
Good morning.
Grant Hayes was arrested, I believe, on July 25th, 2011. Is that the correct date?
That's correct.
And he was taken to the Raleigh Police Department and placed in one of the interview rooms there.
That's correct.
And that interview room is wired to videotape whatever happens inside of the room, isn't it?
That's correct.
And you're able to record what the officers say if they're in the room, but if the officers leave the room, you're still able to record what the individual says to himself while he's inside that room, correct?
Yes, sir.
And if I may may I approach witness, Sean?
Sure.
Let me ask you, if when Grant Hayes was in the interview room, was a transcript, well, first was a DVD prepared of that interview?
Yes, sir. Ultimately, it was. It records onto a hard drive, and then I actually make a DVD copy of that recording.
And then a transcript is prepared from the recording?
We don't do that. I believe somebody in the prosecutor's office does that.
Would you take a look at Defendant's Exhibit number 30, and is that appear to be a copy of that transcript?
Appears to be a copy of a transcript of when Grant Hayes was in the interview room there at the police station.
And let me hand you what I've also marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 30A, and if you will, flip over to page 13 and ask you if at the top of that page there are some things that have been redacted.
Yes, sir.
You see that?
Yes, sir.
And then on over page 2, there's, it happens again.
Yes, sir.
You see that?
Yes, sir.
The things that have been redacted are comments made by police officers who come into the room. Is that your memory?
I don't know. I'd have to compare it.
You may want to match them up.
That's what it appears. Yes, sir.
And the things that have not been redacted are the things that Grant Hayes said while he was in the room by himself, correct?
The ones that have not been appear to be what Grant Hayes is saying. Yes, sir.
Thank you. At this time, Your Honor, we would ask to play that CD for the jury.
All right. Also, did you, there's some reference that he was advised of his rights. Did you advise him of his rights yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that on the video? I don't think it's referenced in the transcript, but is that on the video?
Yes, sir. It should be.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Let all the items be received in evidence, and the publication is allowed. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Madam Clerk?
One on the right. No, at the top end. Explain some things to you. Of course, you're in custody, I mean, you're in custody, we're saying you're in handcuffs. So what I have to do is explain to you your rights, okay, review rights. I'll tell you that I would like to talk to you about some things, and I think, since I saw you the other night, probably some things have changed, and I'd like to talk to you about, but before I do that, I have to, go over these rights with you, okay? I don't know if you've heard of them before? Yeah. You used to know them? Get your side of the story, but that's your right, that's your decision. Right now, you're kind of impacted, so you can make a decision. Yeah, you're being charged with murder. Tell you, man, but, I can't really get into the details unless you agree to talk to me, you know what I'm saying? Because that's your right, I can't, go against your right. To get it, I mean, to get someone over the top. That's up to your attorney, I don't know how fast you drive it, What the cause of this,
and proceed. Back in question.
Don't have any questions for you? Guess that's the tell us all on that.
Okay.
I don't know whether or not you're going to be my attorney though. So, okay, on appointment, then she said it was not fine. What do you think is the calling?
If you can go to your right to an attorney, you have that right, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, once you get booked into the jail, you know, you go before a magistrate, things change a little bit, you know, and it's not, you can't just call me up and talk to me, and, you know, you got, everything has to go through your attorney, you know, and as far as you getting information from me, it's not gonna work the same, okay? So, but it's completely up to you, okay? You're the defendant here, you know, so you got certain rights that I have to do my job by, okay? And I'm not gonna infringe on those rights, but again, it's your decision, okay? Do you want to call him, see if he can come down here right now? 3 o'clock, 3:15. And that's up to you. If you want to call him, we'll get you a phone.
When could I call him? Do I call him when I get down to
Or the way it works, at that point, you go down, you get booked into the gym, you know, there'll be some proceedings that you gotta take care of with Matt and different things, and he'll explain to you what your charges are, and, your conditions of release, but basically they are none, you know. And then after that point, you will have an opportunity to use the phone. Normally that's how it works, you know. I don't know if they're gonna be in the middle of shift change, you know, but typically you, at that point, you have an opportunity to use the phone, and you can call. But by then, I don't know what time it'll be, you know, I don't know if it'll get beat 8 o'clock, you know, I don't know, but, it's still
really, I'm gonna have to be awake that long.
Well, I know, I mean, you sleep right there, you can sleep right there.
All right. You got a snack machine?
No.
All right. So,
Bear with us for a couple hours. Are you hungry?
yeah.
What do you want? Maybe we scramble up something?
You got any meat around here?
No.
I don't know what the most making up like
Crackers and chips, maybe, ramen noodles.
Oh, heck yeah. That'll work. Can I be on the floor?
Sure, I don't have a problem with it. You want?
All right, I'll take the ramen noodles, I appreciate it.
It's fine to get around this a little bit. Some water to get with it.
Sure, thank you.
was a couple of songs, you know. But I guess what I felt was, I don't know. It's just, yeah, cats like, you know, Bob Dylan, Faulk, great songwriter, awful voice, great storyteller, awful voice. And then you got folks who can't write, but they're great performers and everything else. And I guess if you had to pick if you want, I really couldn't tell you that you don't have a choice. I wasn't, you know, raised to be very emotional. So I didn't have a lot of experience with emotion. Moral control, intellect, and what do you call it? A word, articulation, that's the word, yeah. And so when it came down to choosing that line of work, I wanted to be a doctor. I always thought I would go back and finish that, but, yeah. Next thing I looked up, 11 albums, 14 years. And it's just not, it is, you are what you are, you know. I didn't know that I was a musician, I just fucking was one. And, that's the thing, yourself, you know. Some people can write songs, some people can balance a checkbook. Another one's a wonderful checkbook. The day-to-day life stuff, you know, I make good money, and I don't mind somebody else spending it. I really don't. I'm simple. You gotta keep women happy. And you know that's the truth. So as long as I was working, you know, then appreciated it was fun. You know, I took the board to getting on stage a lot of times. Well, yeah, who's the favorite song? You? Yeah. This was it, you know. There is no getting off the path of ignoring that. I look at baby pictures of myself and, you know, I'm shocked to my surprise. I was playing instruments when I was a baby. I was playing drums with that guitar. Thing I don't even remember it was, you know, I just look at pictures and it's like, you know. Let me see. Hold on a second. In the interim, you know, because no one wants to say that, you know, I corroded now. That lady will give me all that shit back. I don't think she'll try to record a song.
You got one?
Yes, sir.
You got one? Hey, you gonna smoke one, man?
I don't know, I found one.
Huh?
I got found one, I was just figuring what number that is.
It's just about one, man.
All right, man, I appreciate it. So, in the absence, well, I hate that, but in the absence of structure, of people, you know, people say when they're rich. When they're rich, like when they're rich. When they're rich, they can do what you want to do. Right? When you want to do it. So you can have things. You become someone that people like. Like is a lot more important than money. If people like you, you know what I'm saying? They'll afford your lifestyle. You know, you say, look, man, I can do something that is going to make you smile and make you happy. You don't like it. You know, you don't really like it. It'll make you feel good. It's a good effect, the goal of the drug. Then, I mean, since the beginning of time, artists have thought to whoever they want to start eating grapes, you know, look at what they paint. Look at what Michelangelo and Leonardo were painting. They were painting a posh life. Dude got to live in a fucking church for 16 years and chill out and paint. I mean, everybody else was busting up. I mean, well, but thought you wouldn't see me up there. Switch these cups out. It's a game I like to play with usual cups. How are you doing? Right on. Well, let me make this. No, these are careless. Hey, look, look down here. You got a paper clip. I'm not trying to pick that up. No, that's right. You cracked me up. You had any luck with it? I didn't touch it. I don't you. All right, Grant. I'm going home, man. All right, I'm going. Appreciate it. So, yeah. What was that? Oh, yeah, that. So, well, you know, in the absence of so society will put demands on the regular person. Go here this time, be here, do that. And we have a schedule. You don't have some of the options. What they call R&R, free time. You just move the search. God damn, I might go out with better. Okay. Isn't so bad. R&R is when you get to find yourself. Okay, so you're in a cage. You're playing by the man's rule. You're inside every structure, and you have behavior that's acceptable. Behavior is not acceptable. Okay. And so you pick up in yourself when no one's telling you what to do. So say you live 40 years and you work a 9 to 5 from 18 to 40. Okay? The amount of time that you have to go on your own path is just a lot smaller because say you get off work, have 4 or 5 hours a day for yourself. You're going to pick up where you left off next day you get off work. But when you wake up, you're in preparation for the 9 to 5, getting ready to work. And so if you are someone that society doesn't put those, call it restraints on, where they pay you to be yourself and try yourself and go to the edge for them because they understand the people that go to concerts aren't musicians. Aren't artists. Musicians go to concerts because they're easily entertained by other people's inspiration and use. Sometimes they don't have their own technical cats. But, you know, when an artist sings about, 50 Cent sings about a thug life, and he relates to the inner city black person, not you personally. They don't have a voice. They want to say, talk this and talk that, but, they walk on eggshells just to keep it up. Well, then they pay 50 Cent to go to the Ashford. Even though they got it, Ball Mike Tyson's house, but in their mind, you pay for them. And so they pay for his lifestyle. They pay him to explore himself. That's why artists are so fucking weird. Because, give an average person 300 years without a job, or, with a job. Average person 300 years with a job, probably an 80 years musician will live without one, will spend as much time in their own head as we do. So, I think you take an average Joe and give him a lifetime, maybe 200 years. That person will be as weird as Michael Jackson. Mike was just like everybody else. He's a normal cat. He had the same desires and feelings. He just, he had too much time on his hands and too much money. If Michael Jackson was a plumber, he would still be alive today. Look at his dad. He had a regular job. He's still alive. The others is not. So it's the freedom that the lack of structure in society that might cause most alleviation and make a person, weird. I don't know if that helps. Well, when you are beginning in that art, you selfishly do tend to write to satisfy yourself. Sounds good to you. You use it as a tool of expression, which it should always be. But everyone's expressions aren't commercial. No, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's why you have, when you begin and you're fresh and you barely know two chords run together, and the pure things come out of your soul, then it's healing, it's therapeutic, and you're not writing for the masses. And you can't leave it alone. It's not a job. You don't have to try to write a song. When you start thinking about money and you have a fucking mansion and 3 cars and an attorney to take care of, and $400,000 video, somebody's got paid for it. You're looking at, okay, I could drop this on his ass and go play small rooms in Vegas until I'm 70, or I can write what people want to hear. And that's how I think people lose their soul in a sense. The money. It's not. There's not a difference between $100 and $1 million. You've had a lot of money before. All that matters is money in your hand. If you know how to make money, you can get a lot of money. If you ask me of the fear of the boundary of the fence of the known, of the safe. You don't have that. It's like, you know, if I want to go to Spain, I could play guitar in Spain. But they got guitars over there playing themselves. And so, whereas the family might say, well, it's not stable, I'm stable, stable with me. Stable is doing my job, you know, and you can't sit and perform a craft on a street corner without becoming part of the street. And that's dangerous, predictable, and common, and part of the surroundings is hell. It's a nightmare for you. You're not entertained, you're not, you know, drawing attention to the point. Once people become, you know, they, once people can count on it, they forget about you. And it gets their attention in the first place. In a nutshell. Yeah. So right here, Alabama, baby, Mexico. Mary, Mary, yeah. Mary, Mary, yeah. I was like you. Easily, in the sun, Mary, Mary, oh, yeah. One, I sure did. Also too. Nobody knows, nobody sees, nobody knows but me. All the sweet field, a long black bed. She said it's my grave, the cold wind waves. Nobody knows, nobody sees, nobody knows but me. 10 years ago, oh dark night, someone was killed in the town hall light. There are few absent, everyone free. Slayer who reigned, Lord of God to me. Through all the sweet streets, in a long black rain. it's not great. You're going away. Nobody knows how, nobody sees, nobody knows but me. Nobody knows how, nobody sees, nobody knows but me. Judge said, son, where's your alibi? You're somewhere else, you don't have to die. But I spoke another word, it'll always mean my life. I've been in the arms of my best friend's wife. Nobody knows, and nobody sees, nobody knows but me. Scaffold is high and eternity is near. She stood in the crowd and shed not a tear. Late every night when the cold wind blows and a long black veil, she cries over my bones. Nobody knows, nobody sees, nobody knows but me. Nobody knows, nobody knows, nobody knows, nobody knows. She walks these fields in a long black bed. She does my grave with a cold wind wave. Nobody knows, nobody sees, nobody knows but me. Nobody knows, nobody knows, nobody sees, nobody knows. Grant, come on, man. Oh, come on, I need a place. No. Appreciate it. Yeah. Didn't they? Yeah, they did. They're not trying to hide it. No. They're not trying to hide it at all. See, that's a main point to let us know and to remember. People try to cover it up or not in. You know, and they weren't concerned about us finding out. They up there, they don't care. They don't care. Those pyramids and shit were for them to see, so they can get back. They weren't concerned about us finding out about them. You know, we would think that they don't exist. We really want stuff on earth, you know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, they definitely have a right to interfere with the process. You have superior species. I think they have an obligation to nature to encourage evolution, if that's what you want to call it. I don't like that term too. Encouraging evolution. It is interference. It definitely is interference. But when you endow a species to endow another species, then what's unnatural about that? You know, now we can genetically engineer and splice and encourage evolution. Another species because it was done to us. You don't go from living in caves to 200 years later building pyramids and can't even build today. No, not naturally. There's some missing link. Look, I'll explain this to you one time. Adaptation is when stress in an organism's environment causes the offspring to mutate just a tad bit so that stress isn't significant enough to wipe out that species. Okay? Had men evolved from monkeys, that would have to mean that there was a stress significant enough in a monkey's environment, a chimp or ape or whatever, to cause it to become biped, have an opposable thumb, and it becomes smarter, you know. Ultimately, if there was such a stress to cause a chimpanzee to evolve into a human being, there would be no chimpanzees alive today. Because if the ones that didn't adapt, they would have just died because the stress wasn't significant enough to kill them or to cause them to adapt. You see what I'm saying? So basically, if it's just, it's you know, I know that Darwin didn't cause all this. Darwin didn't even believe in that shit. But the principles of adaptation, you know, things adapting over many generations is evolution. I'll go with that definition. But when something adapts that drastically to whereby chromosomally it's you know, you never can tell with what NASA left out. It's all a deck of cards. I believe it was probably Pleiadian, yeah, Pleiadian galaxies, Pleiadians are the inhabitants of the galaxy. And they tend to fit more or less the description of metaphysically what we call spirits. Yeah, you can hold on to that if you want to. But I don't know if you like it. There are lies that are agreed upon, that we allow, that everyone knows is propagated. And religion is one of them. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have said that. There's just corners we don't want to look behind as a group. That, and since everyone agrees, we're content to lie about where the road stops, and then where the road stops there. And no one's gonna go past there and explore and bring back the truth beyond the lie that we accepted. And that's where the road stops there. We don't wanna know any more than that. And that's what I feel, that certain members of our government have decided to getting this on one of those. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Not so much that, not that I've seen so much. Yeah. Well, more, there's more at the top there. We need to start, excuse me. I'm not saying I was there, so I'm just saying that I'm certain that there is. Well, I can't be certain I have experience. I just think there is. Mm-hmm. No, not at all. Don't put words in my mouth. Not what I said. Not what I said. I'm just saying, look, man, there's so many of those drivers about because otherwise what you are is big. You get it? It's just logical. Even, yeah, well, even Stephen Hawking said, he asked a question, brief history of time, he said, why is it we are living the past instead of the future? Well, you don't really know which it is, do you? Just depends on which way you're thinking. So if time is linear, that's ridiculous. You run out. It's circular. Everyone knows that. It's distance, dumbass. That's all it is. It's space. Without space, there is no time. Look at a second hand on the clock. How do you measure a second? By how much time it takes to cover the distance of that. That's a second. Everything is connected, so no. I'm just saying that if wherever you are in the exchange, you can remember the past, and there is always a future. There's not an it. It's not the nature of things in this universe, man. Everything is connected. You just don't dispel energy into the atmosphere and it goes into another universe. I mean, our universe would go away if that was the case. About 4.6 billion people. Mm-hmm. What? Talking. Karen. Talking about planet. Yeah. Sure. Oh, that's all fucked up, man. You can't trust carbon data. It's based on a half-life principle. That's what all carbon dating is. Something decaying, they say, well, just think about it, a half-life, a half-life, a half-life. You'll go to negative integers before you hit 0. I don't know. For some things, it gives you an idea, but carbon dating ultimately cut something in half enough times, you'll never get down to 0. Therefore, the whole system for carbon dating is flawed. And other people know this. This isn't like, you know, this isn't special privileged knowledge, man. It's just common sense. Take any number and cut it in half. Many times you will never get down to 0. Well, good luck on that, man. There's no one. I'm sorry, no.
All right, any other questions of the officer?
No, Your Honor.
Questions?
Yes, Detective Faulk, in the last hour, was any of that information helpful to your investigation?
No, sir.
And that video that we watched, can you watch that in your offices and keep track of what the defendant's doing after you question them?
Yes.
Okay. And that was at like 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yes.
Have you ever had a defendant use an insanity defense in one of your cases?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And could video like that be used in a defendant attempting to use an insanity defense?
Yes, sir.
The camera in that room is pretty obvious. It's right above the door, isn't it?
Yes, sir. It's not hidden.
Detective Faulk, as part of your investigation, did you have an opportunity to speak with Patsy Hayes?
Yes, sir.
And based on your investigation, did you learn if Patsy Hayes knew where Grant and Amanda lived in Raleigh?
I don't believe she knew the exact address. I think we discovered at one point, and I don't recall exactly when, but I think there were some pictures that I saw where they were over there, but from what I was able to determine at one point, she didn't know what the address was and had to refer to a piece of paper when we asked her about it.
Eric, can I approach the witness?
You may.
Detective Faulk, I handed you these phone records that have previously been admitted as State's Exhibit A79, and these are the phone records for the 7651 phone and for the 8581 phone.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And all these phone records have these locations of these cell towers.
Correct.
Do any of those cell towers for the 7651 or for the 8581 phone, were any of those phone calls bounced off of cell phone towers in Kinston, North Carolina?
No, sir.
Detective Faulk, were you present for Amanda Hayes' testimony?
Yes, sir.
And did you hear her testify that her phone was on the entire time on the trip down to Texas?
Yes, sir.
Can I approach the witness?
You may.
hand you what's been admitted already as State's Exhibit 80. Is that the email that was sent to you by Detective Heckman?
Yes, sir.
And that email details that the 8581 number is periodically being turned on and off. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the 7651 number has been turned off. Isn't that accurate?
Correct.
And when is that from?
The date of the email is July 20th, 2011.
Lastly, Detective, did you hear Amanda Hayes testify that she had been hit in the legs with a machete?
Yes.
Can I approach the witness?
You may.
I hand you, it's been marked for identification. State's Exhibit 588, 589, 590, 591, 592, and 593. Are these all images of Mrs. Hayes' legs?
Yes.
And to be clear, when are these pictures from?
They're taken on July 25th there at the police station after her arrest.
Okay, so these aren't from the Friday night in the Lenore County Sheriff's Office?
Correct.
Okay. These are from the Sunday night. And in these pictures, and when you looked at Miss Hayes, did you see any damage to her legs whatsoever?
None.
Did you take pictures all over her body to see if there were any marks?
Yes.
And are these pictures, State's Exhibit 588 through 593, are they all, do they all illustrate Mrs. Hayes' legs and the lack of injuries to them?
Yes, sir.
Are they fair and accurate representations of her legs as they appeared on that Sunday night?
Yes, sir.
And going back to that Friday night, on that Friday night, you and Detective Hall and some Kinston detectives picked up Amanda and Grant Hayes as part of a search warrant. Is that correct?
To my July 22nd?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And that was the Friday night of that week?
Correct.
Okay. And we've heard about that. That's where they were fingerprinted, and the camera that had pictures of Miss Hayes smiling next to Grant Hayes was seized.
Right.
And as part of that, did you have the opportunity to watch Amanda Hayes and Grant Hayes interact?
Yes.
And could you describe their interactions to the jury?
Like I said earlier, they were transported to the Lenore County Jail separately, but once we got to the jail, we all got out of the vehicles together and we walked into the jail together and we went to the location inside where we had to do the processing. And their demeanor was kind of like maybe newlyweds or newly engaged or something. They were all lovey-dovey, if you will. And one thing that actually stuck out to me was at one point we were walking down the hallway and Amanda was walking behind Grant and massaging his shoulders, you know, so it was that sort of vibe between them.
Okay. And this was on Friday night, July 22nd?
Correct.
After they had come back from Texas?
Correct.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right.
Detective Faulk.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry. Detective Faulk, you talked about that 8581 number being left on the way to Texas.
No, sir. Referring to the email, it says it's been turning on and off.
Do you recall testimony earlier from both Amanda and Karen Berry that the phone was being turned on and off to save the battery?
I recall that testimony.
Do you also recall testimony that that Grant had whacked Amanda on the leg with the machete?
Testimony from Amanda?
From Amanda.
I recall that testimony.
She never testified that he had cut her on the leg with the machete, did she?
I forget the exact word, but I know there was testimony regarding that she was hit with the machete on the leg.
She'd been whacked on the leg with the side of the machete. Is that
I
testimony?
don't remember the exact wording.
You never heard one word of testimony indicating that he had cut her with the machete, did you?
I don't remember the exact wording. I just remember the testimony regarding that action.
have a moment, John?
Sure.
Detective Faulk, you testified that when Amanda and Grant were transported to the Lenore County Jail on the 22nd, that they were transported separately?
That's correct.
That's customary, isn't
I don't know if there's actual protocol, but that's not unusual.
it? You also testified about their demeanor while they were at the Kinston Jail.
Correct.
Now, everything at that Kinston Jail is recorded on a videotape, isn't it?
I don't have any knowledge of that. I don't know.
You have a videotape displaying either Grant or Amanda while they were at the Lenore County Jail?
I do not. No, sir.
Thank you, that's all.
Just to be clear, there's no, when Amanda and Grant are picked up for that search warrant, you're not videotaping them rubbing each other's shoulders.
That's correct.
And there are some questions about videotape in the courthouse. At any point, was there any video of that interaction or of them being fingerprinted or anything along those lines?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, so there's been no video of that ever found?
No, not that I'm aware of.
And do you know if there's even a video camera in that processing room?
Again, not that I'm aware of. I don't recall seeing one, and that's the first time I had ever actually been there.
Okay. And, John, can I approach the witness again?
Sure.
In State's Exhibit 588 and 593, are there any bruises on Miss Hayes' legs?
No, sir.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Right.
One other thing, Mr. Zonder asked you earlier about a defendant attempting to use an insanity defense in a case. Do you recall that question?
Generally speaking, yes, sir.
Was it your impression that Grant, while he was in the interview room, was either acting as if he were insane or were pretending that he was insane, or which are you indicating?
No, I don't know. I'm just saying that it's not unusual for someone to, knowing that a camera's in the room, to kind of put on a show in anticipation of later possibly using an insanity defense. I've had that happen in my experience in the past. I'm just speaking in general terms.
And what you saw could very well have been someone with real mental problems.
I have no idea, sir. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know. I'm just speaking from experience.
Now, the photograph that you were shown of Amanda's leg, that was taken 7 days after July 18th, wasn't it?
They were taken on July 25th, 2011.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Also, thank you, sir. You can stand down. All right, folks, we had a little conference. There's been a number of requests. There's a request to go to the bathroom. There's a request to a little extra time. I'm told the pizza's here. You know, I'm trying to get organized. Defendant through counsel has requested 15 minutes or so to determine whether or not they are prepared to rest, or if they want to offer additional evidence. Okay. And actually, they asked for as much time as I'll give them. And I'm going to just say, let's stop for lunch and let them confer and talk and decide where they are. And then when we come back for lunch, I will inquire the defendant through counsel if there be further evidence, and if so, go forward with your evidence. If there's additional evidence, at some point they will rest, and then I'll inquire the state if there's further evidence. And I do know that the state has indicated that there is at least one witness, if not more, that they intend to call as rebuttal evidence. All right, so that's where we are. You haven't heard it all. Keep an open mind. And as I understand it, at either your request or your agreement, Ms. Fan has ordered out, and it's here. So y'all can take lunch in the jury room if as you see fit, or you go downstairs and get something else if you want to. Why don't you come back and make sure all of you in the jury room at 2 o'clock, and then we'll proceed on at that time. Please keep an open mind, follow my previous instructions, be careful about your conduct. Thank you. See everybody back in the jury room at 2 o'clock, please. Thank you. Leave your notes here.